All right, good afternoon, everyone. I just want to welcome all of you to today's first fireside chat on resiliency. We know that, post COVID, during COVID, we've had lots of hiccups along the way. And so it's been really a challenge for, government, for private sector, for families to really be resilient. And so that term just has so much meaning, and it has so much, um, you know, so much meaning and so much content. And so when I, had the conversation with my friend Jennifer Wilkov, who's our guest speaker today, she's a dynamic speaker. She's a best-selling author, spokesperson, impactful, I mean, very impactful business consultant. She has such a great personality. She has she has something called "Your Book is Your Hook," and I just love that because everyone has a book in them, and so that's one thing that Jennifer really highlights when she interacts with individuals when she meets them. And so just wanted to have this conversation today about resiliency, because as a nation, as a community, we don't want to not exist. We want our organizations to continue, in spite of COVID. Like COVID may be that disaster that we've never expected to happen and has happened. But we want to continue to have a life of purpose. And one of the things that I really love about Jennifer is her passion for philanthropy and fundraising and supporting causes and people. It's not every day that you meet someone who loves and have a passion for serving. And, that was one of the things that really connected me to Jennifer. And she's been a guest lecturer at Medgar College through some of the courses that I've taught, and the students have all really enjoyed her level of experience and expertise. And I do not want to take any more time, but I want to really welcome Jennifer for really participating in today's discussion. It's so warranted, and really just looking forward to having her today.
Thank you so much, Lishawn. I'm so happy to be here with you and with everyone that's here. I'm very conversational, so if you have any questions, be sure to ask them or comment. Like you said, this is a fireside chat, and so chat we will. So, Lishawn, where would you like to start with resilience? Because, one of the things that I was thinking about as I was posting about this is that resilience is really becoming very much to the forefront for many people in their lives, in their own personal worlds, and in many cases their professional worlds, with different experiences they are encountering. And also, from the standpoint of our nation, we also have other implications, I'll call it, that have caused us to be resilient where we didn't know we were resilient before.
Right. I think let's go in terms of the angle of the personal, because I think COVID hit us so much on a individual basis that, even in our work environment, it has become part of our personal environment. So I think taking it from that angle will be really beneficial, especially for the younger audience that's also on this platform.
Great, because, so I'm going to ask everyone, whether I can see you or not, to sit down in your seat and relax. Close your eyes and take a deep breath for just a moment. And just take a nice deep breath in and let it out. And let yourself float back to this January time, February time, early last year, before any of this came to town to visit, and what life was like, and the moving and shaking and plans you had and places you were going and friends you were seeing and people that you were working with and subway trains you were on. And just connect with that for just a moment. Let yourself just rest in that thought and memory. And when you're ready, give yourself a chance to open your eyes slowly and connect with the room around you that you're in right now. And think about, what have you done between then and now to maintain those relationships that you had then, now? With yourself, with the people in your immediate family, with the people who are your friends, and with the people who you have worked with, and maybe still work with now. And just give yourself a chance to think about that for a moment with your eyes open. And part of what many writers have written about is an apocalyptic age, when all of a sudden life would change for everyone, not just in a particular country, but in our world. And that's sort of what COVID brought to the forefront for many people. It's been very affronting. It's been very confronting. And I think it's begged the question for a lot of people: how resilient are you? Are you stronger than you knew you were? And how much did you live your life outside your home and yourself versus on a fulcrum, how much do you like to be with yourself? I think for many people of all ages, we've all been confronted with this question, right? How resilient are you? And part of it has really come from the fact of, do you make tea for yourself? Do you take good care of yourself? Do you allow yourself to just be? Do you let yourself feel the feelings that you feel? Or do you think you're supposed to feel a certain way? Resilience is really a golden nugget that's deep inside. And when you actually start to dig into it and look for it, you'll find that it's there. I've had many life confrontations that have begged the question, how resilient are you, Jennifer? And each time I have found deep inside that golden nugget of resilience that I never could have imagined was there. And in the light and the lens, I'll call it, of COVID, I would ask you the following: what are you doing for yourself to allow yourself to not only be resilient, but heal? It wasn't fair that COVID came to town. I didn't invite it into my world. I didn't ask for it to be here. I didn't ask to stop seeing my friends. I didn't want to stop working in my office. I wanted to be able to go out and eat wherever I wanted, whenever I wanted, with whoever I wanted, inside. I didn't ask for any of that to stop. Somebody hit the pause button, and I literally went into, what? What just happened? For many people, that's their COVID experience. For someone like me who's had many of these what just happened experiences, it was less confronting and more questionable for me. Well, okay, that just happened. Now here's the key question for resilience. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to handle it? So you've heard the 90-10 rule, I'm sure, in the past. And you've probably said, okay, 10% is what happens to us. Whatever it may be. 90% is the answer to the question of how can I be resilient in the face of blank? How are you going to handle that? Let me give you some guidelines to help you find that golden nugget deep inside. The first question I would ask you to ask yourself is, how do you want to experience this? Do you want to amplify the feelings of, oh my God, I'm isolated and alone? Or do you want to amplify the feelings of, wow, what can I do with this time? I know many people, for example, who have said part of resilience is understanding how to actually handle what's been served. Let me give you an example. Many years ago, there was a story that was in the newspaper about a very, 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 very hot cup of coffee that was served at a McDonald's to a woman, and it burned her. And she was very unhappy about the service. When something is served up to you, you actually have a choice. Oh, hi, Michelle, son. You actually have an opportunity before you react to think about how you would like to respond. There's a difference. Reacting says, oh my God, look what happened to me. Poor me. I don't like what happened to me. Responding is, oh, look at what happened. Okay, it happened to me too. How am I going to handle that? I have no idea. But here are a few things I think I might want to do. One, I always have a mantra. I always have a mantra that brings me back to center. That mantra changes from time to time. In some of my worst experiences, and some of you may know my history, if not, you can go to my website, which is my name, which is very simple, jenniferswilkov.com. My mantra was, and tends to be often, everything's going to be okay. I may not know how, but everything is going to be okay. You know why? Because it always is. Whatever I do, whatever I say, however I feel, whatever I experience, at the end of the day, everything's going to be okay. And when I think about it from that perspective, I let go of some of these feelings that I get that are more anxiety provoking, more frustrating, and quite frankly, more encroaching on my happiness and well-being. And when I say that to myself, everything is going to be okay, sometimes I end up laughing at the second sentence because I'm like, I have no idea how this is going to happen. But somehow, some way, someday, everything is going to be okay. I just have to get through what's happening right now. The other mantra that I often will use, which I truly do believe, is that everything happens for a reason. I may not need to know what that reason is, even though I'd really desperately like to. But everything happens for a reason. Why? One of the best things about being a writer is that what happens to you oftentimes ends up in your books. And so one of the things that I often do in my private coaching, consulting for writers, and other activities publicly like this is I often encourage people to look back at their situations that they have lived through and write down the top 5 or 10 things that you learned from those experiences. Resilience is not about being perfect. It's about practicing. Resilience is about practicing. Practicing is what helps the pianist become a professional. When they sit down at the piano, they have no idea what all those black and white keys are and all those pedals are, and they have no idea what sounds like what when they start. And before you know it, with lots and lots of practice, they become concert pianists who we awe at, that we are fascinated by. But nobody started that way. Painters. I'm going to throw this into your world and see what you do with it. You have a choice. You can A, go down the path of, look at what just happened to me, oh, me. Or you can go down the other path, the 90-10 path, and say, okay, look what happened. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. And decide how you want to respond. Obviously, the third choice, because in order to have choice, you actually need 3 things. You can do nothing. And simply allow it to just be and not respond at all. And numb yourself to what's happening. And some people choose that as a self-preservation tactic. And it's okay. At some point, though, when it doesn't go away, like COVID in our environment, it keeps knocking at the door. And sometimes it gets more intense when it starts to knock in your world. I know people who have lost people to COVID. I know people whose parents have been affected by COVID, spouses who have been affected by COVID, hospitalized by COVID. I'm in a very delicate category myself, and I keep getting tested and keep getting negative, thank God. What is it going to take for me to feel comfortable and safe? When you can answer that question for yourself, that will help you find those nuggets of resilience deep down inside. Sometimes your answer might be, I just need to sit here and cry. Okay, that's a great answer. I love that answer. Get it out. I always say better out than in. Allow yourself to feel the feelings that you're feeling. You don't need to share them with someone else. If you feel like you do need to share them with someone else, do so. What is it that's going to make you feel comfortable and safe? So some people say, for example, I don't want to go to the grocery store. I don't want to go to the drugstore. I don't want to go to Target. I don't want to go to any place where there's a lot of people. That doesn't make me feel comfortable or safe. Good. That's good for you to understand about yourself and then make the choices that are in alignment with what is going to allow that for you, that boundary. Setting that boundary creates a resilience in yourself where you feel like you have more control in an environment which basically you didn't ask for, you don't have control over, you're listening to news about that you basically are like, when are they going to say it's over? That's the news I'd like to watch. Right? And at the same time, when you actually are looking at what's happening, what is it that I want to do? What is it that I want to do with this situation? What is this situation providing for me? What is it showing me about myself? You know what? It's showing me that it scares me when I don't have control over my environment. I thought I did. I thought I knew everything that was happening. I was on a track at my job. I literally knew that I was going out with my friends every Friday night, and it was fun and exciting. Every Tuesday night, the girls would get together. We would play cards, whatever it is. That's all ended for the moment. One of the things that I've talked to other people about when it comes to resilience is keeping an I miss you journal, whether it's about your friends, your family, maybe the people that you work with. What is it that you miss? What is it that you miss? It's really a very simple concept, but we oftentimes don't want to let ourselves go there, right? Because we oftentimes think about, oh, that might be really painful. I don't really want to think about missing something. But that's the reality, is we have these feelings of missing out, missing things. The Super Bowl was a terrific opportunity for people to connect on many levels nationwide and worldwide. Why? Because nobody wanted to miss the Super Bowl. Gosh, the respect for humanity and other human beings right now is very apparent. It allows us as a community of human beings, whether we are in a particular nation or across the miles and the ponds, I would add, to actually say to one another, I see you, I appreciate you, and I don't want anything to happen to you. That's resilience. It's part of that philanthropy muscle Lishawn was referring to. I don't want something to befall you that would be an experience I wouldn't wish on anyone. I may not be able to do everything for you, but I certainly can do something. Wearing a mask, social distancing, and washing your hands were the first three things that people told us over and over again. Some people adopted it and some people resisted it. And they each had their individual reasoning for doing either behavior. And as things have come along, it's really been profound how important it is to at least check yourself and ask, how do you feel about humanity? How do you feel about them? And how do you want them to feel about you? Resilience comes from being able to think just a wee bit larger than yourself. Just a little bit. One of the things I love doing in Lishawn's class is holding up a kind bar and asking who's hungry. And I always give that kind bar away. And someone always takes it. And the thing that I love about this example is that a kind bar, actually the kind company donates when you buy bars from them, which is so great. And when you give somebody something to eat, is that philanthropy? I always ask that question. And it is. Part of resilience comes from being able to do something for someone else when you don't feel so great. It reminds you that you have a lot of personal power to make a difference. My kind bars are this big. They're a snack because it's class. But it makes a difference. It eases somebody's hunger. for just a few minutes. If you think about resilience, resilience is one of those things that's fleeting. I always call it, it's something you try to catch with a butterfly net. You catch it for a moment and it's beautiful and you feel it and you realize it. And then the next moment comes and you say, how am I going to handle this? How am I going to handle this? My dad has excellent advice that I've followed for many years, and he's reminded me of it constantly in the past few years as I've been faced with some very serious opportunities to entertain how am I going to handle this. He always says, one moment at a time, one day at a time. That's it. That's all you really have to handle. There are going to be lots of moments to come, and there are going to be many more days. If you feel overwhelmed, which is oftentimes the opposite of resilient, take a moment for yourself. Take a few deep breaths and just connect with yourself. Resilience is like a Rosetta Stone. It's a language you have all to yourself. It's the way that you speak to yourself. It's the way that you talk about yourself. And it's the ways that you think about yourself. If you think you're resilient, you are. If you think you can, you will. And if you think everything is going to be okay, it will, even if you don't know how. It will still be okay. The beauty of all of this experience that we're all mutually having in our own individual ways, it's fascinating. Sociologically, they are going bonkers in the universities watching this sociological experiment occur. I would ask you to answer my question. Think about it each day. How am I going to handle this today? For those of you who don't know me well, I've been falsely accused of a white-collar crime, wrongfully convicted, and incarcerated in Rikers Island, only to come out and 3 years later to be completely found 100% innocent by the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority for a crime I never committed. I'm also that person who summited Mount Kilimanjaro 4 years ago after missing the summit 10 years earlier by 500 feet. I've also finished the Grand Canyon rim to rim in a single day, only to come down from that summit of Mount Kilimanjaro 4 years ago to an advanced stage 4 non-small cell lung cancer diagnosis. That between 2017 and 2019, I had 7 near-death experiences, 5 of them in 2019 alone. And I'm still here, and I'm miraculously healing from that cancer death sentence. Even the oncologists don't know why I'm still here. But every day I ask myself the same question: how am I going to handle this? During all of the things that have happened in our nation, in our lives, in our worlds, I always come back to me and ask myself, how would you like to experience this day? Is it going to be a great day? Is it going to be a crappy day? Is it going to snow today? Am I going to get outside today? Lishawn, I'm not sure if you want me to answer any questions or what you would like me to do.
Yeah, I think this is really awesome. And I'd like to really like put some people on the spot a little bit. Because I think, some of the questions that you pose, how you've been able to handle, work and school and etc. And be resilient. And, a lot of your nuggets were really sort of eye opening, right? So gratitude, like when you're really grateful, and we find that, in our personal lives, when we're very grateful, we are more resilient because, we're not thinking about, something negative happening, right? Because we're just so thankful for the people that are around us, that are supporting us, that are keeping us level headed, that's keeping our energy and excitement up. It's part of like, you know, thankfulness just keeps you resilient, and I like that you mentioned that. That's like a really great nugget that I'm taking away, to be more thankful, right?
So, these are the things that really allow us to tap into ourselves. That's where resilience lives. It's inside us.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Um, I just love that, that that the root of gratitude just keeps you going on, and like, and that's what a lot of, when COVID hit, I think a lot of people thought that was, people weren't going to be resilient because, now they're, based in their homes, all day, every day. I know for me, um, I'm, like an outdoor person, so I'm not a homebody. So everyone thought I would be like in the worst situation because I'm usually never home. But I just kind of, as you said, Jennifer, kind of took it as just being grateful that I didn't have COVID, that I had a job, I was working remotely, and really just didn't allow, that, kind of isolation. I mean, it's not really isolation. I'm home with my family, but, that isolation from everything else, and, the socialization that I so, super enjoy, but kind of kept resilient, because I was grateful that I didn't catch it, that, I wasn't sick, you know. I had classes with the students via Zoom, so it was good to see and interact, even though we weren't in person. But yeah, I was grateful for those opportunities, and I think at that point there were so many webinars here and there and everywhere. So it was like people were just connecting. So I think that was part of our resilience, just keeping on the ground, keeping connected, um, and having that positive, grateful attitude, that, things were going to be better, and we're still hoping that, with the vaccine, I know that was one of the things you were hopeful for, it's like, yeah, vaccine, we want it to come really quick, and it did come quick, right? So just to be thankful for that, just brings joy to, everyone's day. And that's why I think we're so resilient now, because what if we didn't have a vaccine,
Yep.
right? So
Fabulous.
I want to thank Jennifer for her time today. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to this discussion on resiliency. When I thought about having this, topic, Jennifer was the right person. The first, day that we scheduled, she wasn't available. I was like, Jennifer, we're gonna have to reschedule it because you're the person I have on my mind for this, and so we're gonna have it. And
Thank you so much.
grateful and resilient just because I'm grateful today for you for taking your time, to be with us and sharing what's on your heart.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. I really appreciate meeting all of you and talking with all of you. And I wish you all great joy during this time in finding your own resilience inside.
Thank you.
Thank you.